Hey guys, in this video we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to talk about 5 books that are good for your chess improvement, but they are not chess books. So 5 non-chess books to help your chess improvement. And these are all books that I've read in the last year or two, and they've all had a big impact on me, not only in my overall life, but also in terms of chess. And a lot of times when I read nonfiction books, I do like to think about how they can apply to other areas in life, and one of them is chess improvement. So these 5 books are somewhat in order from most important to least important, but really the order doesn't matter too much. All right, so let's start with number 1, Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'm really a huge fan of habit books, and this is my favorite one. It's a really popular book. And what I like about Atomic Habits is it really applies to ChessGoals philosophies. Um, in Atomic Habits, they talk about making a regular routine out of things. And in ChessGoals, we want to make chess a regular routine in our daily lives. So if you think about your day to day, how can you add chess in there and make that become a habit so that every single day or every single week you are working on specific aspects of your chess improvement? And over time, you're going to see compound growth. So if each day you just get a little bit better, over time, that starts to add up a little better, a little better, a little better. Before you know it, you've made some serious improvement. But really, you want to make sure that you put in the effort to make those little habits in the beginning and then keep them consistent. And another thing that I like about Atomic Habits is in the book, they talk about focusing on the process, not so much the end result. That's the same with chess. A lot of chess players are very focused on how do I get that rating higher? But the rating is a lagging indicator of our chess progress. So the better way to look at chess improvement is, can we create a system? Can we stick with that system? And then over time, look back and say, okay, there's the progress that we made because we stuck with this system that we were pretty confident would work in practice. So I think that's the way we should look at chess improvement. Focus on the system. Are you able to stick with it? Play your chess every day, follow what you've set out as your goals for your system, and then the rating will follow. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about with Atomic Habits is the environment. The environment matters. And I know some of you watching this video are going to say, Matt, this book doesn't apply to me, or I would never be able to apply that technique because of XYZ. I don't want you to have a negative mindset with these recommendations, okay? Everyone's life is a little bit different. Some of us are busier, different jobs, kids, etc. Try to make these recommendations work for you. Try to figure out ways that you can just implement little parts of these different books into your own life and into your own chess study habits. But the last one is Environment Matters, and this is linked to one of the books coming up. And what this means is you want to create an environment when you play chess that you can focus on things. So we'll get more into that on book number 3, but that also works with habits, right? If you have a certain environment where you play chess and you know this is my chess environment, that'll help you stay in the habit of playing chess. All right, let's move on to book number 2. This is Essentialism, and this book is actually very popular in the ChessGoals Discord. I was asking members early on, what books do you guys like? And a lot of people mentioned Essentialism. What I like about this book is it really focuses on what matters most in your life. And if chess is something that you really want to focus on as one of your hobbies, I think that's good to realize. And we have a lot of different things that compete for our time. If you can tell yourself in advance, chess is something that I really want to work on in my free time, or maybe free time's a bad way to look at it, in a dedicated slotted time every day, then I think that helps you make sure that you can reach your chess goals. And then within chess, I also think it's important to prioritize what's the most important for your improvement. So when you sit back and take a big look at your overall chess game, what's going to help you improve the most, right? And I think as adult improvers, a lot of us tend to get sidetracked, right? We buy the new shiny book or the new shiny course, and we just want to like really dive in and focus on one little thing, when really the most important thing to getting better at chess is playing chess. It sounds simple, but we got to make sure that we prioritize playing games. And across all levels, I think players should be spending at least 50% of their chess time playing games. And that means you shouldn't be spending 4 hours a week handwriting flashcards and 1 hour a week playing games. If you really want to focus on your chess improvement, you need to play a lot of games and analyze each game as well. Also, important tasks should match your goals, right? So that's something that you can think about before you set up your next study plan. So maybe you set a study plan, you follow it for 12 weeks, and then you reassess. What was your progress over those 12 weeks? Are there certain areas in your common takeaways where you're struggling with? Like, do you tend to make the same mistakes over and over? Should you tweak your study plan slightly to maybe try to target some of those mistakes and improve in those areas? Moving on to book number 3. I really like this one, Deep Work by Cal Newport. The main thing that this book talks about is focusing without distraction. And I know this is a hard one for a lot of people. We're in a distracted world. Cal also has a pretty good book called Digital Minimalism. And I think that's the biggest factor in most of our lives that distracts us, our phones, right? So your phone is constantly notifying you. It's ringing, it's dinging, it's beeping, it's lighting up, right? And our brains are triggered to constantly look for those little notifications. And that reduces our attention span. So in Deep Work, they talk about focusing without distraction. And one thing that I've realized over the years, I really enjoy over-the-board chess more so than playing online. And the reason I enjoy over-the-board chess is because you sit down at a board, everyone has their cell phones off, everyone is quiet, there's no distractions, right? You are just focused on the game. It's you, your opponent, and the chessboard, and you could spend 3-4 hours in one game, and it goes by like that. It's almost instant, right? You're just having fun, doing something that you enjoy. And I think you want to try to create that environment as much as possible for your chess study. And this is going to be different for everyone, right? Some people, maybe they live alone in a perfectly quiet atmosphere, and for them, that's their baseline. For other people, they might be trying to carve out 10 minutes, before breakfast, 10 minutes on the shuttle ride after work, whatever it is, right? You have to figure out for yourself, how can you create that study environment for chess? And another thing for Deep Work that I would recommend for chess is possibly batching your activities. So maybe there's certain activities like reading your strategy book where it's okay to have some distractions in the background. And then maybe there's other activities like when you're focused on your rapid games where you really don't want anything to distract you, right? So you can batch your activities based on the time of day or what else is going on in your life. All right, book number 4. This is a huge book. This book is almost 500 pages, Thinking Fast and Slow. And the author mentions chess quite a bit in this book. This is one that Jesse loaned me. I really enjoyed this book. So essentially, there's 2 systems in the brain that the book talks about. System 1 is more of an automatic system for your thinking. And system 2 is the conscious, aware, and considerate system, right? So if you think about, for example, learning to drive a car, when you first learn to drive a car, you have to really think about everything. Put your foot on the brake, shift it into drive. Where do you put your hands on the steering wheel? When do you use the blinker? That's all system 2. Over time, our brains get used to things in system 2, and they start to become lazy in a way or efficient, and they transfer them to system 1. So over time, your brain might just automatically know how to back out of your driveway and start driving down the street, and you haven't really thought about it. But maybe your system 2 knows to look for people crossing behind the car, for example, right? So this is true for everything in life, and it's also true for chess. So in chess, we have system 1, which is our intuition, we usually refer to it as, right? What moves instantly pop into our brains. System 2 is our calculation ability. How are we able to look down the different routes on the chessboard and see what the best moves are? When most non-chess players think about chess, I think they think it's system 2 that makes chess players good at what they do. They think that chess players can look so many moves deep, and that's why they're good at chess. And that is a big part of it, right? Like you want to be able to calculate sequences and variations. But really, it's not about, hey, I can look 10 moves deep and you can look 6 moves deep. I'm a stronger player. I mean, that doesn't really mean much to a chess player. One thing that's really important, though, is chess intuition. And if a chess player is playing a non-chess player, they're going to win just based on intuition. They're just going to know which moves are good. They're going to instantly spot blunders, and they're not going to spend any time calculating to get that win. So in chess, we have both systems that we can train, System 1 and System 2. If you take Magnus Carlsen, for example, the world champion, his bullet level would probably crush my classical level, right? If you just gave him positions and said, here, spend 2-3 seconds on a move, and you gave me a position, say, spend 2-3 minutes, his bullet probably crushes my classical. And my point with that is, over time, you can start to use the results of your 2 or 3 minute thinks and make them faster and faster and faster, so that more complex positions take you 2-3 minutes, and those prior positions that were 2 to 3 minutes are now down to, let's say, 20 or 30 seconds, right? So I think this applies to tactics, for example. It's good to train quick tactics and do something like the woodpecker method, where you just make it automatic over and over and over, or puzzle rush, where you just go quick, 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 quick. But then it's also good to do slower tactics. Can you calculate really deep? Can you solve for accuracy? Can you look for different variations? And in between, right? So an in-between tactic might take you a minute, where it takes some calculation at first, but you can get faster at that calculation and learn to weed out lines more quickly. So train from both ends. Train the slower calculation, train the intuition, and a little bit in the middle. And over time, hopefully those slower problems get faster and faster, and even more difficult puzzles start to creep into the old range for the slower puzzles. And this is also true for playing games. A lot of players think that blitz is not important. For example, I've analyzed hundreds of players' data on chess improvement. I can tell you blitz is important. If you're someone that's played 20,000 blitz games and you're telling me you haven't gained any rating points over the last 20,000 games, okay, then let's go back to the drawing board and figure out, maybe you just have some bad habits that you need to correct by analyzing your games. But if you're playing 5 games or less a week and you're saying blitz isn't important and you're not improving, I think you need to play a lot more chess. So if you play both blitz and classical chess, you can kind of do the same thing, right? There's not a lot of players that are really good at one and not very good at the other. Usually blitz and classical do go hand in hand. And I can tell you, like, if you're a player that's very different between the two levels, as your rating gets higher, opponents will start to pick up on those weaknesses, and they will say, oh, I know this player crumbles under pressure, or they make quick blunders if they have to play quickly. Or maybe the reverse is true, where it's like they don't actually know how to calculate deep variations. They're only good at intuitive positions. And you can kind of recognize that in players. If you start to watch for it, are there players that are lopsided with System 1 and System 2? So definitely train both systems and really think about that. And you can think about it when you're working on your own takeaways as well. Are my areas of weakness, do they tend to be System 1 or System 2? And is that something that I can improve? All right, moving on to book number 5, Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. This is one that I was really debating if I should include on the list, and I think there's probably the most controversy around this book. So I didn't include any diet books. I didn't include any fitness books. I don't want to give a diet or fitness recommendation. It's very personal. This is probably the closest one to creating a little bit of controversy. Ego is the Enemy. Essentially, in Ego is the Enemy, Ryan talks about how we believe that the world revolves around us. But I think this is also true specifically in chess, right? So in chess, what we want to do is get our rating higher. We have this number attached to like our worth as a chess player, right? And the higher that number is, the better we are as a chess player. And it kind of creates this elitism in chess that I think a lot of potential new players are turned off by, or they come into the game, the rating's not very high, and they feel like they're not as valuable as a chess player. So what I want you to do as a chess player is try to stay modest. Rating is just a number, right? No matter how high you get, unless you're Magnus Carlsen, there is always someone higher. And there's probably quite a few players higher rated than you. And everyone starts somewhere, right? You were also at a lower rating when you first started. So keep that in mind. Stay modest. The rating is just a number, and we all have a lot to learn at every level. The next thing I'll say is make an honest reflection on your own progress. So don't just look at your rating, right? Dive a little deeper. How much have you followed your study plan? What areas of the game are you improving in? Which areas of the game are you struggling in? You know, sometimes if you add a new opening repertoire or you're trying to practice some new strategic ideas, that will actually hinder your results for the short term, right? Like you might have some growing pains, but then as you merge that information with what you already know, then you will start to see that improvement. And a lot of times you might just leapfrog way above where you were before you started to have those growing pains. So try to have an honest reflection on your own chess progress. Don't just look at the rating number. And then the last point, and this one was important for me, you don't deserve to win, right? So just because you think you have a higher rating than a player or a better record against a player, you don't deserve that win, right? Both players are trying to win. And only one can come out with a win. And if it's a draw, neither of you come out with a win, right? So don't be upset if you don't get the win. You have to think of chess positively, right? This is a game you want to enjoy. And what I've tried to do over the years, and this has actually helped me a lot, is when I lose a game, I try to immediately give my opponent credit. I don't just think, oh, that was a dumb blunder that I made. I should have never done it, get upset, go on tilt. I try to give my opponent credit. What did they do that put me in a spot that increased my odds of blundering, right? So maybe 9 times out of 10, I don't blunder there. But the productive thing to do is to figure out, why did I blunder, right? So take a loss and just learn from it. And if you do get upset, that's okay, but try to very quickly get over it, right? And over time, hopefully that amount of time you're upset just goes down, because it's really not fun to play against someone else. For example, you beat them and they think like, oh, you just got lucky, and they don't want to analyze the game and they storm off. Like, don't be that player, right? Analyze the game with your opponent, try to learn something from it. And when you win, it's okay to be happy, right? So I try to think of it as a win-win. If you lose, you got more to learn from the game. And if you win, you can be extra happy about it, right? You had good results. So that's book number 5, Ego is the Enemy. I hope you guys like this video, just something a little bit different. Let me know in the comments, what books do you like that are non-chess books that apply to your chess? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.